channel, Sparking Wisdom. It's associated with my blog, so if you want to read more information and look at my cool crafts and some more teacher things, you can check me out at sparkingwisdom.blog. Today, we're going to be talking about some teacher things. So I'm going to reflect on my first week of teaching in this new world that we live in and some of my takeaways from that. So if you haven't done so already, make sure that you click the subscribe button, turn on the notifications, and give me some comments. I would love to hear your feedback. I graduated high school in 2011 and went right into college, and I knew I wanted to be a teacher. So I got my degree in history and international studies, and then I got my teaching certificate. So I graduated in 4 years and then got my first job here in northeastern Wisconsin, and I've been there ever since. So this is the start of my 6th year. It has been an interesting year for sure. I have loved the community that I'm in, and I really did enjoy teaching my first couple years, but I'll be honest, last year was a huge struggle. And it wasn't just because of the whole COVID stuff. Actually, that kind of broke me out of the issues that I was having. But I had my worst year teaching last year. I had new curriculum, I had a bunch of really tough students, and all in one class, and that class lasted all year. We run a block schedule in my school, and so normally you see kids for just a semester instead of all year, but I actually teach some skinnies, which means it's like a regular class where I see them all year, and it was a class of only 5-6 kids, and so it was really small, and there was some with a high level of special ed, which is normally fine because a lot of special ed teachers actually give me their kids because I do really well with them and I work really well with them. But there was just a couple students that were really tough, and I just didn't know how to handle that. So not only that, like I said, we had brand new curriculum, so I'm teaching things that I've never taught before. And then I'm also really into the technology side of teaching, and so I felt pulled in many different directions of trying to teach that. And I had just gotten married that summer. And so I was still trying to be in my first year of marriage and trying to devote a lot of time to my husband. So it was a really rough time. And one thing that was really hard about that is because the first time ever in my history and career, I thought, and I said out loud, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. I don't know if I want to teach anymore. And it was very tough. Then when we went to online learning, when we went into the lockdown, I really thrived with that. There was something about being able to be home and not having some of those other kind of toxic distractions. There was other toxic things that were going on. It was just really nice to be able to sit down in an environment that I felt really comfortable in, and then I could just teach and work on curriculum and talk to my kids. And I already had a pretty good relationship with a lot of those kids. So it was just, I don't know, I thrived with online learning. And so going into this year, I was nervous and excited at the same time. So a little bit of background on what our year looks like this year. We're doing a blended learning model, which means we get about half the kids on Monday, Tuesday. We call them cohort 1. So we get half the kids Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday is totally virtual, so we're just there to help the kids. And then Thursday and Friday, we get the second half of kids. Now, I was a little nervous about this situation of how it's going to work, especially since it's pretty much that I'm teaching 6 different classes instead of 3 classes because they're already staggered. We didn't start school on Monday, we started school on Tuesday, and then this coming weekend is Labor Day, and so we won't get those cohort 1 kids again for only one day. We only have them for one day. So that I was a little nervous about how that was going to work out. I was excited though because I did really thrive on online learning. I know it's not going to be the same as when we were teaching solely online, but because we have some of those aspects, I'm like, okay, I did really well with that. But I was really nervous and I was really down leading up to school. It's true when they say August is the Sunday of the year because I had this ominous thing of it's about to happen, I'm about to go back to school. And I remember kind of lamenting to my husband that I was really nervous about it because I didn't want the mental place that I was in last year to come back. I thought it wasn't it just wasn't good. It wasn't beneficial to my husband. We got into a lot of fights because I come home and I go to bed. Like I didn't want to do anything that I enjoyed. I didn't really cook for my husband and I love to cook, and we didn't, go out anymore. We met doing karaoke, and I never did that, or never wanted to do that anymore. And so it was a struggle, and I was really nervous coming in. And we actually got into a fight like right before, literally the morning of when I was going to go back to school. At like 4 a.m, I woke him up and we had a fight. So that was my bad. But he said in that argument, he's like, this is what you went to college for. This is what you want to do. So why are you dreading it so much? Why do you have this kind of like mental attitude? And now I get where he was coming from. And then now after we talked about that, he's like, you were meant to do this, and you were meant to do this. And now that we're out of the fight. And it's true. I kind of had to do an attitude check. So going into the first day of school, I was like, you know what? No, this is going to be a good year. I've got this. This is going to be great. And then it was. So my first day was good. It was very, very good. So I have, just so you kind of know what my schedule is, we teach in block class, like I said before, or block schedule. So I have first hour prep. So right away in the morning, I can just kind of prepare for my kids. And I love first hour prep because it allows me just to kind of ease into my day. I get the coffee in me, and then I can also just plan and print out all my copies for the whole day, so I don't have to do any kind of running or sprinting around. So that was great. And then I teach second block. And then something new this year, which I have been working towards for so long, we use a learning management system called Canvas. And I tell people that if they've used Google Classroom, it's kind of like Google Classroom on steroids. And I've been using it for the past 4 years. I'm involved in what's called an I-team at our school, or the innovation team. And we kind of test out different products and technology and give feedback on what we think, and then we push it out to the rest of the school. And so I was one of the first people, along with a couple others in our school, to start experimenting with Canvas. And I loved it so much. This can do everything. And so I've been using that for a long time, and now I've kind of become what they call the Canvas guru at our school. So people keep coming to me to ask questions. So they come to some of the other staff that also use Canvas, which is fantastic. But I felt like I was being come to more and more, and more was being asked of me. Last year, there was a couple of times where I was taken out of my classroom to go to the middle school to describe Canvas, or meeting with other staff and leading trainings and things like that, which was great. I loved that. I loved teaching my peers and trying to help them. But that was taking time out of my teaching and my prep. I was answering emails and phone calls while I was teaching to try to help other people. And that just that added to my stress last year, where I felt like I had all of this new curriculum and these tough students, but I had no time to prepare for it because I'm also doing these other things. So this year, because of all of this blended learning cohort situation, it looked like in one of my skinnies, like I said, I was going to have a skinny where it was going to last all year. I was going to have a class of 4 kids. And it's that's not really going to work with the cohorts. I would have a class of 1 and a class of 3, or 2 and 2. And it's that's just not going to be productive for teaching. And so I asked, hey, this has been mentioned before. Would it be possible that I can have that skinny, those 45 minutes a day, to be Canvas help for people, where I can answer emails, or I can go out into the classroom and help teachers and run around. What's also nice is that skinny class also kind of butted up to my lunch. And so instead of 45 minutes, I had more like an hour worth of time, a little bit longer, that I could run around and help people too. And it got approved, and I was able to do that. So that's been a dream of mine for the last about 2 years, that I can actually be a Canvas rep at the school and go around and help teachers and things like that. And it's been awesome because it's not just that teachers can only contact me during those times. Like if I have to go first hour, which I did yesterday, go and help a teacher for 15, 20 minutes, I can make up that time later so I get some more flexibility in my schedule. So anyways, that going into the first day, knowing that I already had that, especially since this year, because we're in blended learning, it's a requirement in our school that the whole staff has to use Canvas, and not everybody has been. And so I know there's gonna be a ton of questions and issues. So this was like, yay, I actually have time to do this, and it's something that I'm good at and I can help people. So already going into my first day, I felt more comfortable. And then with the first day, it went better than expected. You know, I had some nerves of what's it going to be like with wearing masks. Are the kids going to hear me? Or am I going to be able to hear them? And with our orders from our governor, we do have a mask mandate. So we're supposed to wear face coverings when we're indoors and things like that. But he did give an exclusion to teachers, like when we're up front teaching, if we're 6 feet away from students, then we don't have to wear a mask. And I was nervous about how I felt about that. And, you know, I wanted to be respectful of my students and of myself and being safe. So I actually wore the mask the whole first day. I only had it off when students weren't in the room or if I was like drinking coffee or something like that. And I was surprised that didn't bother me as much as I thought it was going to. I haven't spent a full day in a mask, especially trying to talk and teach. And it went well. The one thing I learned is I don't need to wear very much makeup, because it all transfers to the mask at some point. So first day went exceptionally well. And the kids they seemed happy to be back in school. And that was great. It was really nice to see them again. The other thing that's new this year is our Wednesday. So our Wednesday is a remote support day, which means that we have no kids in the building at all on Wednesday. But we as teachers do report on Wednesday. And so the morning is like a collaborative time, and then we have a set schedule, like half-an-hour segments, where we are available for each one of our blocks and each one of our cohorts. So the kids can log on to a Google Meet, and then we can walk them through any issues that they have. So I already had kids that logged on Wednesday, which was great, checking to make sure they submitted different assignments correctly, which is awesome. It's exactly what I want them to do. And then we also have about an hour at the end of the day to, again, just prep and work. And I could get used to that because that was very familiar to me, like it was in the online virtual learning that we did in the spring, where I was able to get up and kind of take my time, prepare for the class or prepare for things going on the next day, and then meet with my kids throughout like the morning and the early afternoon. And then again in the afternoon, I had more time to work on things. That was glorious. Like I could get used to this. Again, just quiet work time in my classroom, somewhere where I'm comfortable, and get stuff done. So I think those Wednesday remote learning days are going to work phenomenally for me, very much so. And then finally, Thursday and Friday went well. I actually got to see the kids 2 days in a row, which was fantastic. My cohort 2 kids, and it was nice. It was nice to see them. We were able to do some brain breaks outside so the kids could kind of spread out and they can take off their masks if they're spread out and we're outside. So that was nice. And because I saw the kids 2 days in a row, I started to already develop some relationships with them, and like, this kid's funny, this kid's shy, and I could just start to learn about them even more. So overall, the first week went so well, much better than expected. Now, I know that's not the case for many teachers out there, and I hope and pray that it gets better. So I want to go over some of the takeaways of this first week. I'm definitely a person that I like to reflect on things. I'm in a constant state of like growth mindset, or I try to be, and I just want to keep improving and getting better. And so I want to reflect on this week. So I'm gonna go over the good, the bad, and the ugly. I know that sounds kind of on the negative side, but it's a movie reference, so that's kind of cool. And there's definitely more good than bad and ugly. So let's go in reverse order. The ugly. So one thing is that I think it's gonna take a lot of time for me to figure out the difference between cohort 1, cohort 2, and when I see kids and the planning part of it. Because, for example, Thursday and Friday kids, I need to plan out, okay, when you guys are home Tuesday and Thursday, this is what you need to do. So I kind of have to plan a week and even like a week and a half in advance to figure out what they will have to do and give them clear directions while I have them in person, so they don't have a ton of questions when they go home. And not that that is a big ask for me, because I normally plan things out and I try to plan things out that far in advance. The part where it's hard is it's been a lot easier in the past to do things like that because I just have a stack of things that I've already done and that I can pull from. But it's so different teaching something in the virtual sense versus the in-person sense. So I need to figure out, okay, what lectures do I have to record? What documents do I have to like print out for the kids ahead of time if they want paper copies of things? And so just figuring that out, that's going to be really complicated, especially because going into it the first couple days, I really wanted to figure out how to get cohort 1 and cohort 2 to be matched up together. You know, I do have second block, but that's also split into 2 different cohorts. So how am I going, do I need to teach them the same? Do they need to be on the same schedule? Because already cohort 2 is going to be ahead of cohort 1 because we didn't have school on Monday, and at Labor Day we don't have school on Monday again. So I only see that cohort once a week for the next 2 weeks. But I think I just have to take that pressure and take it off. Like, there is not going to be a way for me sanely to try to wrap my head around and plan that out. So I think moving forward, I'm just going to think of them as 6 different classes, because I teach 3 classes, and just go with it from there. Because I think if I worry too much about them ending and coming up at the same place, it's gonna be too stressful. So that's one thing, but I think overall, with my mindset change, that's gonna go well. And then also the ugly part is, in the back of my mind, there is the reason we're doing this, the reason we're teaching it this way with the coronavirus. Now, I am a healthy young person, so is my husband. We don't have a lot of people around us that are immunodepressant. And the ones that are, if we get sick, we just won't go and see them, but we don't have to take care of anybody. So personally, I'm not really concerned if we do get it. Health-wise, we're gonna be fine. My concerns are, if I do contract the coronavirus, what happens now? Like, I have to be quarantined for 2 weeks. Am I still expected to teach during that time? Do I get a sub during that time? And then I don't even want to try to think about trying to plan for 2 weeks of this blended learning in a way a sub can understand. Because we're also in a lack of subs, because a lot of our substitute teachers are people who have retired from teaching or retired from different areas in the field, and that's more scary for them to be in a school where there might be coronavirus. So that's going to be complicated. And also, I'm nervous about my kids. So the kids get it, then they have to be quarantined for 2 weeks. And how do I get this information out to them for 2 weeks that's, I won't be able to see them or help them, but also helping kids in person. It was different last year where everybody was virtual because I could create the same kind of material for everyone and help everybody out. But now I have a kid at home and their whole class is here. Like, that's just going to be different with my instruction. So the ugly part is that's still in the back of my head. And also, will we be teaching this way for a long time? If we start getting cases in our school, will we shut down and go all virtual? Not as nervous about that because, again, personally, I did very well with teaching online, but I also worry about my kids going into a home life or a home situation that maybe is not great, and coming to school is kind of a relief from that. So that is constantly in the back of my head about this. Now, bad, so the stuff that's not so bad, so yeah, the ugly is really bad, not so bad, is that I don't get to see the kids as often. Like I said, I only get to see cohort 1 once a week for 2 weeks. And that just kind of sucks. It's going to take me a longer time to get to know them, to memorize their faces with their mask that I can only see that much of their face. It is very hard to figure out who is who when I judge just by hair and eyes. Like, oof, that's a little tough. So it'll take me just longer to memorize their names, get to know their personalities. So it's not terrible, and that's going to be fixed as the year goes on when I get to see them more and I get to know them more. But as of right now, that kind of stinks. but there is a ton of good that has happened so far. So again, I kind of like this idea of the mix of in-person and online. I feel, especially for the kids who are going into 11th and 12th grade, it's kind of a snapshot of what college might be like for them. So how are they going to balance their work and home life? I mean, there's a lot of positive lessons that can be taught through this. I think it's important for us as teachers to try to highlight those lessons of time management and how to get through things who are difficult and how to reach out for help and things like that. I think there's a lot of positives with this. I also really enjoy the smaller class sizes. We tried to get class sizes between the 10 and 12 so that we could have the kids 6 feet apart. I have a couple classes of 9. I have one class that's kind of big of 14, but I can still get them pretty spread out. I have a decent sized classroom. And it's nice. I can give a lot more of the one-on-one attention with the kiddos, and I like that. I feel like I can get to know them a little bit faster that way, and lessons go a little faster. Some of the big group work and like fun reenactment things, we're gonna have to change and keep distance, and that might stink a little bit, but I really like this mix and I like the smaller class sizes. And finally, the biggest thing is that I get to do what I love. I do get to teach, whether it's online, whether it's in person. I do feel like I was called to do this, and I can impact these kids and I can help them, and it's nice to be back. It feels really good to be back. Those are my reflections on week 1 of this new style of learning. Overall, my attitude is that I am determined to make this year better than last year, and so far, so good. I'd be interested to hear what you guys think. Are you teachers? And what's your first week been like, or if you've been teaching for a while now? And if you are parents, what are some things that you're struggling with and some feedback that you have so that teachers can try to make things easier for you and your kids? So I would love to hear your feedback. So make sure that you comment down below, and thank you for checking us out.